Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, it's time to look at Rhyperior from the upcoming Burning Shadows expansion. This was revealed a couple of days ago, but gosh darn it, there's been too many news. I've been having too many videos to do. My backlog, seriously, this is like the 5th day in a row now that I'm doing double uploads. There's been too much news, ladies and gentlemen. Although, weirdly, no one's been complaining about the double uploads for, several days in a row. It's almost like these videos aren't terrible. Yay! So, Rhyperior. Not saying it's amazing. I am saying there is a lot of potential here, and it's going to be an awful lot of fun. So, Rhyperior is a fighting Pokemon. That means that you are hitting weakness against things like Drampa. But then again, if you're attacking, you're going to be one-hit KOing anyway. More on that in a minute. 160 HP is pretty good, but it is, of course, in line with Dragonite. The 4 HP kind of sucks, but don't forget that also means you can search it out with Heavy Ball. The weakness to Grass is actually really quite bad with Tapu Bulu running around, although Tapu Bulu can get the KO anyway, but now it means it gets a KO with Nature's Madness without having to discard the energy, which is not ideal. Now, Rhyperior. I love the ability here. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. And if this sounds familiar, then it might because of this Aggron and this Rhyperior. That's right. Any of you that was sitting around thinking, when are they going to reprint Diamond and Pearl Rhyperior? I've got great news, ladies and gentlemen. Great news. And this really, for me, is the selling point of this card. You get to evolve up and discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Now, this is a Stage 2 Pokemon. So we don't want to evolve all the way up just to discard 3 cards. We want to be able to reuse this ability and discard many cards. But we've got a couple of options. Super Scoop Up, which has been absent for quite a while in the Pokemon trading card game, since we had our rotation in August, is coming back almost exactly a year later. We are getting a Super Scoop Up reprint in Burning Shadows. We knew it was going to happen, it was inevitable, but now we've had the confirmation that it will be in Burning Shadows. Yay! The other card we're getting is Acerola. Super Scoop Up, you need to flip a coin to pick up one of your Pokemon. Acerola, you don't. But there is a catch. There's actually 2. Catch number 1, you can only use Acerola on a damaged Pokemon. Catch number 2, you are unfortunately limited to 1 supporter per turn, and Acerola is a supporter. This is also coming in Burning Shadows. But of course, like Drampa in Garbodor decks, you could always play Rainbow Energy to damage Rhyperior, or I would just recommend playing Team Magma's Secret Base. That way, every time you play a Rhyhorn on the bench, it's going to have 2 damage counters, so as soon as you evolve up into Rhyperior, you can use Acerola. And that's really what you want to do here. You want to have 3 or 4 of these on the bench in various stages of evolution, so when you pick up your Rhyperior, you bench your Rhyhorn, evolve a benched Rhyhorn into Rhydon, and evolve a benched Rhydon into Rhyperior, and then discard another 3 cards off the top of your opponent's deck. You really want to be having 1 or 2 of these abilities every single turn. Then you can do it a few times per game. But here's the thing. This alone is not going to be enough. We need other ways to mill cards. And when we say mill cards, we mean ways to discard cards off the top of your opponent's deck, because one of the rules in the Pokemon trading card game is if one player is unable to draw a card at the beginning of their turn, they lose. That's the goal here. We've got Team Rocket's handiwork. Flip 2 coins. For each heads, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. So of course you could potentially play this and discard 4 cards off the top of your opponent's deck, and with cards like Versus Seeker, which we do expect to be rotated to be fair, you could actually use this many times per game. Now in Expanded we've got Trick Shovel, which allows you to discard the top card of your opponent's deck, and we've got 2 Durants, both of which are potentially quite fun for milling. We've got the Grass Durant from Breakpoint, which is also going to be legal in Standard going forward. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck for 1 grass energy, or if you've got any damage counters on, discard the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck. And of course you can play a Rainbow Energy here with Durant, which would also help to have a damaged Rhyperior, so that you can pick it up with Acerola. The other one that's only legal in Expanded, of course, is the Noble Victories Durant, which just allows you to discard a card off the top of your opponent's deck for each Durant you have in play. Hopefully 4. But here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Aggron in Expanded. So if using Trick Shovel and Team Rocket's Handiwork and Durant and Aggron was gonna be an amazing mill deck, it would already be an amazing mill deck. We need more. Well, actually, in Burning Shadows, and Burning Shadows really does seem to be a set where they want us to be milling, we've got 2 new options. The one that I have to mention, and I'm sorry for those of you that don't want me to, my boy, my editing buddy himself, Beware. For a double colourless energy, flip a coin. If heads, you get to discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. But of course, we are going to be combining this with the Victini from Guardians Rising, so that 75% of the time we're hitting this. And if you're doing well enough with Beware, while discarding enough with Rhyperior, this could be a lot of fun. The other option we have, of course, is Charizard Gx. Now, Charizard Gx's GX attack allows you, for free energy, to discard the top 10 cards from your opponent's deck. That, ladies and gentlemen, is just a little bit silly. And the thing about milling, for those of you that have never played a mill deck before, it's not just about racing to get rid of your opponent's cards. But every time you discard cards from the top of your opponent's deck, you run the chance of being able to discard cards that they need. And the more good cards of theirs you discard, the more difficult it's going to be for them to actually set up, and the more likely it is that you're going to win the game. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the key here. Stop your opponent by milling to give you more time to mill. But here's my big problem. Charizard's a stage 2. Beware's a stage 1. Rhyperior's a stage 2. And then you're going to be needing cards like Super Scoop Up and Acerola, and you're starting, and maybe even Devolution Spray, so you can devolve a Rhyperior and then re-evolve a benched one. So if you've got a Rhyhorn on the bench, you can devolve a Rhyperior and then immediately evolve a Rhyhorn sitting on your bench. But here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. This is a lot to ask for. It seems like a clunky combo. It's not working in Expanded at the moment with Aggron. Now, to be fair, in Expanded, you don't have Acerola, which is a really easy way to pick up your Pokemon and keep milling. In Expanded, you don't have Charizard GX, which allows you to discard 10 cards. That's more than 3 Aggron/Rhyperiors in one go. I do believe the options for milling we are going to have once Burning Shadows hits are better than the options for milling we've currently got in Expanded, but I worry whether it will still be too clunky. But make no mistake about it, with Rhyperior coming out, and also Beware coming out, and Charizard coming out, and Acerola coming out, Burning Shadows is doing great for mill decks. Now, there is also an attack on Rhyperior. I've left it till the end of the video, and that should tell you what I think about the attack. 4 energy, 2 fighting, and you can use a double colourless here. 170 damage, not affected by weakness and resistance. Rhyperior cannot attack during the following turn. Well, good news is it's not affected by resistance, so you will get that 1-hit KO on Yveltal. And with a Choice Band, you're hitting 200. With a Professor Kukui, you're hitting 220. Not being able to attack the following turn really isn't a big problem. Lapras and Volcanion, they cope just fine using cards like Pokemon Ranger, or even just switching to a new Pokemon. It is an attack that can basically 1-hit KO anything. And don't forget, of course, you've also got Strong Energy here. So with a couple of Strong Energy and a Professor Kukui and a Choice Band, you're actually hitting 260 damage. What's the problem with Rhyperior? Well, this really is good for the ability. And I've already said how many cards you're going to need to pull that off. So trying to add in enough energy to attack with a 4 energy attack and then having to recover all of that energy when Rhyperior goes down, I think, ladies and gentlemen, is too gosh darned clunky. I really do. This is upsetting to me. But I just don't think it's a terribly viable attacker. If you want to be attacking with a fighting Pokemon, we've got things like Lycanroc, which are much better. As it stands, I love this for the ability. It's going to be a difficult deck to make, but I think it can be made. And if you make a good list of this, it's going to be so much fun. And that is why I'm going to give Rhyperior between 2 and 3 Wassies. I love him. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I love him. I really do. And I'm going to try and play around with this deck. I've told you I'm going to be playing a Beware deck, so clearly I'm going to try Rhyperior as well, but I just worry that it's too clunky and it needs too much to work. Now you know the deal, there is a comment section, go nuts, be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel, use them both, I'll be delighted. Make sure you follow me on Twitter @TheWassie, and the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching, my name is Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.